Wasted money on cures. Forgot how to fix myself. They say that time is free. Then why is it so precious? Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. Time is running out. Time is running out. Lately I've lost my track. I've sailed the deeper seas, hoping to find something to bring back better times. Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. But time is running out. 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 Time is running. Time is running out. But time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over. They can't be over now. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over now. Time is running out. Time is running out. Time is running out.
Hello, and welcome to the third of three sessions where we're getting ready for the next installment, exciting installment of BTEC National Business Unit 2. And all will be good tomorrow afternoon when you look at the research pack and then when you dive into Part B and type your activity reports in on Thursday morning. So what have we done so far? We spent the first session on Sunday looking at what's in the research pack or what could be in the research pack, how to use it, and in particular, how to write about key themes and use the research throughout the rest of your typing. Last night, we went through AF4, which is the justification using the research and the evidence to use two models to support your marketing campaign and promotional strategy. And we also touched on how to write aims and objectives. You're given the aim, how to write objectives, 3 objectives, which leaves the marketing mix, the big one, AF5, 20 marks, and budget and timescale, which are AF6, 7. So let's dive into that. We are going to be using, and hello, by the way, everybody who's saying hello in the live chat. It's good to see you. So we're going to be using the case study which I wrote a few days ago, just specifically for these 3 sessions about a fictitious business called Rethread. We've no idea what the real business or industry is going to be tomorrow. Doesn't really matter. It's whatever it is. But this is just a way of us showing the exam technique that hopefully will help you get the grade you deserve on Thursday. Rethread makes pre-loved clothing. So let's just quickly remind ourselves of what Rethread's all about. It's a pre-loved fashion business. Pre-loved is the new term for second-hand or used. I prefer pre-loved. I think that's great. I think it implies an emotional connection to something you're buying. Founded 4 years ago by fashion graduates Alex and Sam. Well, I think we established yesterday that the business is still at the sort of introduction stage, but in a market that is definitely in the growth phase. And Rethread sources pre-loved clothing from textile recyclers and turns them into two products, either professionally cleaned and repaired branded items, or turning old clothing into new products, such as turning jackets into tote bags. And at the minute, it's selling £8,000 per year, and it's doing so by using a distribution channel known as Depop and Vinted, which together have 70% of the market for sale of pre-loved clothing online. The aim has been given to us. The aim is to double sales, so to increase monthly sales to £16,000 per month. And we've been given a £20,000 budget to spend over 6 months. And what else do we know? We've got two options they're thinking about, either to run what's known as kilo sales, in particular targeting university locations or maybe sixth form college locations, or to launch a dedicated website and start selling direct to consumers online. And that's probably as much as we need. Let's dive in to 2 or 3 questions just to get us into the marketing mix vibe, if there is such a thing. So here's question 1. Rethread's primary research told us that 58% of target customers would pay a bit more, £10 to £15 more for cleaned items. What pricing strategy might that research support? What type of pricing strategy could we perhaps use that piece of evidence from the primary research? What do we think? Give you a few seconds to type if you want to have a go in the live chat. Most people are going for item or answer C. Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's premium pricing. Put this question up really just to say that obviously when we're writing about the marketing mix, it's important to use marketing terminology. There are marks going for relevant and accurate use of marketing concepts. So if we tried to link people wanting to pay more to penetration pricing, that'd be wrong, wouldn't it? Because penetration pricing is deliberately setting a low price in order to capture a share of the market. This would suggest that there might be an option for us to actually offer maybe a new range or a particular a new range, a new collection of pre-loved clothing, which is priced a bit more expensively, therefore premium pricing, but has some extra added value. Good stuff. Let's try another one. Question 2. If Rethread chose option 1, that's the kilo sales option, what part of the marketing mix changes the most compared with what they're doing at the minute? So it's one of those 4, isn't it? It's either A, B, C, or D. So option 1, the kilo sales, would involve actually a change in something, a fundamental change in one part of the marketing mix. Which part of the marketing mix is it? Premium pricing, somebody's asking in the live chat. It's where you charge more for a product or service. And to do so, you need to add some value. You need to give people a reason why they would want to pay more. So, for example, it could be that you offer maybe an option when you're buying pre-loved clothing to have your pre-loved clothing go through a special process before it's sent out to you. Yeah, and we've got a variety of answers here. Actually, I think the answer is D, place. So let's go through that. Is it product? Well, not really. No, they're still selling pre-loved clothing. Is it price? Well, maybe, but they're still selling pre-loved clothing. Kilo sales, I suppose you're selling it by the kilogram, but you're still basically selling the same products for roughly the same price. Is it promotion? Maybe, but I think place is really the answer here, because if you think about it, currently, Rethread are using third-party platforms, Vinted and Depop, which dominates third-party platforms for pre-loved. Now, that has a fundamental impact, doesn't it? Vinted and Depop bring you the customers. They bring you the buyers. All you need to do is have listings that people are prepared to pay for and buy. But you don't have to do much to go find those customers because they're on the platform. However, if you move to kilo sales, then you are removing that platform and you have to go find customers. You have to encourage people to actually attend the venue. In other words, you're moving from an indirect distribution channel to a direct channel. Now, if you get it right, of course, it could be big for you. But it's basically a new distribution channel. So let's have a go at question 3. Now, let's just focus on those kilo sales again. Now, we're going to talk about the website option a little bit tonight, but mainly thinking about option 1. Which promotional media do you think might be most effective in driving attendance at specific local events? What do we think? And maybe in the live chat, if you pick your answer, maybe give me a few words about why that would be. What do we think? So let's say we chose option 1, kilo sales, rather than option 2, website. Which promotional method, media might we think? Yeah, we definitely want to do that as part of our promotional mix. What do we think? In order to drive attendance at specific local events. Number of people saying D, macro influencers on TikTok. Number of people saying email marketing software. But actually, I think the answer is A. I think it is A. Let me explain why. Kilo sales, let's say we're running one in Leeds or Birmingham or Coventry or Bristol. We want to be reaching out to people to actually get them to come to that specific location on that specific time and specific day. And physical flyers and posters, anyone who's ever been involved in promoting anything at all to do with universities has always been perhaps the most effective way of letting local people, in particular the target demographic, know about an event that's coming up. And certainly more effective than email marketing software, because chances are that the software doesn't know where you're based. A Shopify website, well, again, it's pretty general, and same for macro influencers. So actually, physical flyers are quick, they're very accessible, and they have a high chance of being seen and shared. So I'm going for A. Hopefully that's useful. Well done. I mean, there's no MCQs on Thursday, but a nice way of getting us into the marketing mix. So what are we going to look at over the next 30 minutes? Well, it's now people talk about activity 1, activity 2. In reality, it's one report, it's one document. So, but it's the second part, isn't it? We've identified what our aims and objectives are. We've analysed the research. We've used our models and theories. Now we're getting into the detail. What is it that you think this business should do in order to achieve its aim and achieve the marketing objectives you've set? So the marketing mix, the detail, and you can see from the 20 marks out of 70 that this is by distance the most important assessment focus. So however you decide to spend your time on Thursday morning, allow at least 1 hour 20 to write in detail about the marketing mix, even if that means spending less time on other stuff. It is the most important piece. And from all the distinction scripts I've seen, and don't forget, only 1% of students get a distinction. They all score highly on the marketing mix, 16, 17, 18. I've never seen a 19 or 20, but they all score highly on the marketing mix, and the same thing for students who want to get a merit. So we'll look at the marketing mix first, then we'll move on to the budget, and then we'll literally spend 2 minutes on Timescale, because you literally only need to spend 2 minutes on Timescale in your reports. Okay, so let's just quickly remind ourselves of the aims and objectives. And I mentioned this because I think it's a good idea to, depending on where you write about them, is to repeat them before you get into the marketing mix and the marketing message. So there are 2 options. The aim, though, is given to you. You'll be told what the aim of the business is, and that's irrelevant to the options. This is what you have to achieve. So the aim is to increase monthly sales, as we've said, to double it from £8,000 to £16,000 per month. And what you then want is 3 options. And I've summarised and simplified these. So you want a bit more detail, as we were looking at yesterday. But 3 objectives that are specific to that option, which will help achieve the aim. So, for example, we looked at kilo sales yesterday. But if we look at option 2 there on the new website, what have we got there? A new website. So achieve a target 10,000 monthly visitors to the website. So not all of those will convert into customers, but that will be a really important objective to achieve. Build a customer list, people who actually buy from you or express an interest in buying from you, of 5,000 emails or mobile phone numbers. And then a specific objective around sales. So achieve at least 50 extra online orders with an average value of £150. So something that is specific to driving the revenue, and make those objectives specific to the option. Okay, so Let's move on now then to the marketing mix, shall we? Now, the first part of the marketing mix, which a lot of students are missing marks on, the average out of 20, I think, is about 10.5, 11 now. So students have got better, but in general, they're still missing a lot of marks, is that you need to provide a marketing message. Now, this isn't just a strap line, albeit that can be parts of it, like a slogan, but your marketing message needs to be 3 or 4 sentences explaining what it is you're trying to communicate to your target customers. Don't miss this out. In fact, I would write this before you get into the individual parts of the marketing mix. So for sure, having a slogan and a strapline is great, and definitely you should have one, but then use 2 or 3 sentences to explain why you've gone with that and how you're going to use that marketing message and integrate that across your marketing mix and your promotional activity. So over to you whilst I take a break for 30 seconds. Has anyone got a strapline or marketing message we could use for rethread? I'll come up with one, but over to you. Have you got one? Savage is asking, can you make up a slogan? Absolutely you can. And in fact, I will be thinking about this tomorrow afternoon and overnight, or first thing Thursday morning, think, well, what can I go with? Obviously, you can't go into it written down, but you can memorize it, can't you? And think, right, that's going to be my strapline. And the beauty of this is, as soon as you read the primary research, you'll know what customers are looking for. So there's no reason at all why you can't have one ready to use. So yes, I think you can think of the marketing message, because the marketing message essentially is there to solve problems for customers, isn't it? Target customers. What is it that customers are looking for? That will definitely have been included in the primary research. They'll give you some really strong evidence as to what they're looking for. What do we think? Let's stick a few of these on the screen here. Fast work from Luca. Rethread, relove, reuse. Very good. I love it. A similar thing from Jim. Reuse, rethread, recycle. Nice. Oh, my word. It's not just pre-loved. It's our loved. I think that's the winner so far. I love these. I'm just going to pick out the ones that are that legally we're allowed to put on the screen. Hidden treasures. Oh, my word. Sustainable style. Unbeatable finds. That communicates, doesn't it? Essentially what the business is around. Sustainability, pre-loved, but a find. Something which will be unique. Love it. A number of people claiming that they're now using AI. Rethread, recreate. These are brilliant. So you see what you mean tomorrow. There's no reason at all why you can't start thinking about your marketing message. Recycle, revamp. Yeah, I can. I'm just looking at the ones I can legally put on the screen. Recycle, revamp, relive. I love these. I love these. I'm slightly embarrassed to show you mine, but I'll do it anyway because I spent about half an hour thinking about it. So here's mine. In the live chat, please, what do you think to this? Fresh threads, not easy to say. Zero grime, student prizes. Rethread. Fresh threads, zero grime, student prizes. It's got that sort of student vibe. So what I was thinking is fresh threads, not easy to say, particularly not me. In other words, it's something because the primary, what I've done is I've highlighted the primary research, which is why you can do that tomorrow. Pick something from the primary research and say, that's what people want. So I could be thinking about my marketing message for that. So we're told that 60% of Gen Z want unique style. So why not come up with something which appeals to that? The zero grime bit is, there was some evidence, wasn't there, that people are a bit put off by the whiff, if you know what I mean, of some pre-loved clothing. The fact that ours goes through some kind of professional cleaning, laundering process, which means it smells great and smells new. I think it's quite nice. But also the price piece, that we know that 45% of shoppers now want better value, which is why they're increasingly switching to pre-love. So anyway, there we go. There's mine. But the reason for doing that is, and it's okay, is because don't forget your marketing message needs to communicate something. If you link it back to the research, ka-ching, more marks. That's the whole idea of the research pack. It's to provide the evidence for making choices in your marketing mix and your marketing message. And also, as we'll see shortly, we can then link the marketing message to parts of our marketing mix. That's the whole idea. So some people asking, does the marketing message need to correspond to the option we choose? Well, not necessarily, because the marketing message is more about the business and the brand, isn't it? And the option will typically be maybe a particular method of achieving the aim. So you could use that marketing message if you were launching a new website, and you could use it as maybe the message for the kilo sales. So it doesn't have to be specific to the option that you choose. I think it's more about the positioning of the business, the positioning of the brand, and what it is that you're trying to say to potential customers. Good stuff. Okay, so actually, I've just seen another marketing message come up. Let me stick it on the screen here. I love this. Styles that lived before, ready to live again. Rebirth, style, reborn. Oh, there's so much you could do with this. Unfortunately, though, you don't get that many marks for the marketing message, but I'm pleased to see such great creativity. So let's get on to the marketing mix. Let's just quickly go through it. The 7 Ps. Product. What is it that the customer is buying? So as you look at the case study tomorrow, the market think, what is it that or the customer is actually buying? Is it a service that they're paying for? Is it something physical, tangible? Is it a combination of a physical and service provision? We don't know. We don't know what it's going to be. We've had chocolate bars. We've had skate parks. We've had dog food. Who knows? The price is what the customer pays, but the price may well be different depending on what they buy. So there could be a variety of different price points, not just one point, not just one price. And don't forget, you'll be given example pricing of competitors and the business. Place, this is what's known as distribution. So how is the product sold? How do people buy it? Do they buy it online? Do they buy it face-to-face? Do other people sell it for you? Really important. Promotion, which is how do you find customers and persuade them to buy using the different promotional material and media. And then those are the 4 Ps. The extra 3 Ps are people. And people isn't who buys the product. People is who delivers the product or service. Process is how is the product or service delivered and managed. And the physical environment is there something in the physical experience that influences how that product or service is delivered? And I'll talk about this in a second when we look at the kilo sales. Do you have to include all of those 7 in your marketing mix? Yes, you do. All in detail? No. The 4 you must do in great detail. And we're talking, 200, 300 words for each. If you look at distinction examples, they go into great detail on product, price, place, and promotion, and where relevant, and it nearly always is relevant, something on people, process, and physical environment. But the most important thing is to go into detail on the 4 Ps, product, place, price, and promotion. Okay, so let's have a little think about it. I'll take a break for 30 seconds just to throw the challenge back to you. Let's say we're looking at kilo sales just for 5 minutes. Now, in the research pack, we were told there's some competitors offering kilo sales, and basically it's a price per kilo of clothing that you buy, £20 or whatever per kilo. What could we write? What could our pricing strategy be for Rethread? Thinking about our marketing message as well for price in the marketing mix. Over to you. Dylan's asking, is a slogan necessary for the marketing message? No, you don't have to. You don't have to. But I haven't yet seen a script, certainly not a distinction script, that didn't have some kind of slogan or strapline, but then it goes on to explain what that's meant to communicate and how it's going to be used. What doesn't really work is just a slogan on its own. That really doesn't get you very far at all. What do we think? So a number of people talking about the use of competitive pricing. Yeah, so if you use competitive pricing, you might be trying to make sure that you are not overpriced. That somebody comes along to your kilo sale, they don't say, well, it's cheaper if you wait until next week when X, Y, Z are here. Let's put Jim back on, not just because his name is Jim, but because he's putting some cracking ideas into the live chat premium pricing strategy to make the customer feel like they're paying for a good, well-made product, a well-looked-after pre-loved. Pre-loved item. Let's see what else we've gone here for. A number of people going for that. Okay, yeah, Cheyenne's going for cost plus. So you could use cost plus to say, okay, well, look, we know what we're paying from our clothing recycling merchants, and we know what it costs us to clean them and prepare them and package them up. Therefore, we'll apply a markup on top of those to determine our pricing strategy. It is widely used in retail. The danger, of course, is that you might have costs that are too high, and therefore you end up overpricing your products. Yep. Let's pick out any more. What else are we going for? Okay, yeah, and a suggestion here that penetration pricing could be worthwhile doing, particularly if you're entering a new segment here with a new method of distribution. This is the first time that Rethread have run kilo sales. If you set that, something new, it could be that you try to establish yourself as being the best value kilo sales operator, and therefore in the early days, you offer maybe significant discounts per kilo in order to attract as many people as possible and build a reputation for selling cheap, very cheap pre-loved clothing. That's exactly the kind of thing. Now, let's just go through, before I show you my example for pricing, a structure for the marketing mix that works for product, price, place, promotion, and the rest. So as you work through each part of the marketing mix, don't forget you need 80 minutes, at least 80 minutes typing this out. It needs to be that level of detail. You need to be explaining what it is that you suggest the business should do for each part of the marketing mix. So which products are you going to sell and why? What is your price, your strategy, and why? Okay, it's really important that you are as specific as possible. And in particular, I would recommend for products and price to include some differences, some changes to what they're already doing. There's no point just saying, keep on doing what you're doing. To achieve an aim, typically you have to do something slightly differently. Really importantly, as you go through each of the the 7 Ps, link back to the research. Say, the primary research tells us that X, Y, Z. Or as we saw in the SWOT analysis, this is an opportunity that we want to take advantage of, and therefore this will help us achieve that. Link back to what's gone before. Really importantly, explain for each P how what you're suggesting will help achieve one or more of the objectives that you've set, and therefore the aim of the business. So constantly refer back to the aim and the objectives. How will your product or your price or your promotional method help achieve the objectives? Link back. Absolutely vital. It's the golden thread that gets you to the highest marks. And lastly, just before I show you an example of price, don't forget it is fine to deal with promotion in the budget section. So a lot of students do this rather than just repeating themselves and dealing with promotion in AF5 in the marketing mix and then writing it all out again in AF6 when they talk about their promotional budget and media. It's fine to deal with your promotional strategy in one place in either AF5 or I've seen it done very effectively in AF6. Okay, so here's an example of price. Let's stick it on the screen and then just let's have a read through. And I'll just pick out a couple of examples of why I think something like this works quite well in Unit 2. I'll give you a chance to start having a little read through. So we know we want to be writing in detail. What do you suggest the business does? But why do you suggest it? So here I said for option 1, our pricing for kilo sales will be set to a premium value. So whilst kilo sales are typically based on being cheap, we know the research said that 58% of consumers were happy to pay more for items that have been professionally cleaned and repaired, mainly overcome the hygiene concerns. So in other words, a kilo sale of real quality, you might hopefully get to be able to charge more than the market leader worth the weight who currently charges £20 per kilo. So I've highlighted in yellow where we can draw information from the secondary, the primary and part B information to help sustain and justify price. So I've said currently the market leader worth the weight charges £20 per kilo. That came straight from the table. And this is rummage stock, often unwashed. Great. So to differentiate rethread, we'll set a price of £25 per kilo, which represents a premium, £5 extra. And this represents the fact that we're selling grade A quality, steamed, washed, really well looked after pre-loved clothing, but it's still significantly cheaper than fashion items on the high street. And then I've also suggested some specific pricing ideas just to support this. So our standard item is £2.50 a kilo, okay? But we'll also offer an early bird entry fee, £5 to get in, which you can offset against the price. So in other words, people are paying to get in early to see the best stuff, but they get their money back if they buy something. That's quite a nice little promotional idea as well. And then lastly, I'm also going to offer a promotional deal on the day. So it's £25 per kilogram, but I'm also going to have a special promotion, which is, here's a tote bag. By the way, it's free. You can fill it. It'll be 40 quid. Fill it with what you want for 40 quid. So there's another product in there, but another way of, same product, different way of pricing it. So there we go. I think that would do the trick. The pricing strategy, does it work? Well, yeah, we hope it will. In particular, because I think those kind of prices would hopefully help us achieve that £4,000 objective we had of sales per kilo sale. Yeah. And it also is consistent with our marketing message. So you can see what I've done there. In yellow, I've just tried to bring into my pricing section. I might spend 10 minutes writing that, bring in some links back to the research, and then also link back to my aims and objectives. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that's the level of detail it's at if you really want to do well in Unit 2. And then do the same thing for product and place, promotion, and a little bit of detail on the other 3 Ps. And your marketing mix is going to be much better than average. So there's an example of price. And we could go through all of the marketing mixes, but we haven't got time. But hopefully that's useful. Now, just a quick word on the other 3 Ps. So a number of students just ignore them completely. But the mark scheme does say to get to mark band 4, you need to make reference to all the seven Ps, not just the main 4. So I've just put an example here of how we could maybe use people, process, and physical environment if we were talking about the kilo sales. So, I mean, I wouldn't present it in a table. I would have just a couple of sentences under the title people and a couple of sentences under process. But this is just an example of how we could have used those 3 if we were writing about those for the kilo sales. So let's pick an example. What about people? So people is the people who deliver the products and service. Well, my suggestion is, why don't we get the 2 founders, Alex and Sam, to attend each kilo sale, to be there in person, and to provide personal styling advice and guidance and fit to maybe to the early bird customers. Who knows? Why? Well, because the primary research suggests that a lot of customers are a little bit wary of pre-loved because they're not sure about sizing and they're not sure about the quality. So what better thing to do than to have the founders in the kilo sale, literally putting the jacket over you or showing you how it might style with something else. Physical environment. A kilo sale, okay, it's in some manky old sports hall in a university, but could we change the environment to make it look a little bit more than a jumble sale or a rummage sale? Could we use professional rails? Could we include some nice styling mirrors? Could we throw some scent diffusers in there? It might need to be a pretty big one if it was a sports hall. But yeah, could we do something to make the whole thing a slightly better experience, in particular to overcome this concern that people have about the manky smell of some pre-loved clothes? So something like that. There we go. You get the idea. Now, I wouldn't use a table for the marketing mix. Pax asking, would you use a table for the marketing mix? To be honest with you, I wouldn't. I think I'd just have for each of the 7 Ps or the 6 Ps, deal with promotion later, I'd just have the heading, and then I'd just type and write and explain what you're going to do. I've just put it in a table there just to illustrate how we could potentially write about kilo sales for those extra 3. So keep things simple. is my suggestion. There we go. Well, we've got about 10, 15 minutes left. Shall we move on to budget? I think we should. So let's just go back. Marketing mix, 20 marks. Basically two things. You must have a marketing message, but it's not just a slogan. You need to explain what it is you're trying to communicate, what's your positioning. And then you get the drill. 80 minutes of typing in detail about the 7 Ps. What is it you're going to do? Why? What's the evidence? How does it help achieve the objectives? And if you do that, you're going to be scoring some fairly serious marks for AF5. Okay, so the budget. Now, the budget, the promotional budget, there is only 8 marks. So whilst everyone gets very concerned about it, it's only 8 marks. And the reality is that most people get 5 out of 8. Relatively few get 8 out of 8. But to get 6, 7, or 8 out of 8, you need to do this on the screen. So you need to include detail about the promotional media that you suggest. And my suggestion is you include 3 different promotional activities. The examiner's reports are saying the same thing every time, is that too many students are defaulting to TikTok advertising and email. So don't be that person. Be ready to talk about 3 different types of promotional activities that are varied. So it could be posters and flyers. It could be social media advertising, and it could be a competition. Yeah. So go for variety. It will make a big difference to you. For each activity that you identify, you need to explain how much of the budget you're spending on it and what are the costs, including wider costs. This is the bit that most students are missing out on. So don't just say social media advertising £4,000. Break it down. Yeah. What is that £4,000? Who puts the advertising together? How long does it last? What assumptions have you made about the cost per click? So wider costs are really important. As long as they are broadly realistic and sensible, no one's going to check. So don't worry too much about being absolutely precise. And then the other thing to say about AF6 is if you wish to, you can write about your promotional mix here if you wish. You don't have to do it in the 7 Ps and then repeat it all in your promotional budget. So it's just a little technique point to save you some time. So how do you get good marks? Well, that's how you get good marks for AF6. Should we show you an example? And I just want to do it by way of my favorite method of AF6. And I know a lot of students love this idea, which is the competition. So I know lots of students do this, and there's good reasons for it, because when you see tomorrow's industry, tomorrow's product, tomorrow's whatever it is, you'll have lots of time tomorrow afternoon and overnight to think, what competition could I run? Because there's never yet been a research pack or industry where you couldn't run a really effective promotional competition. And you can go into it ready to run the competition, thinking about what you might do and how much it would cost and how you'd run it and all that kind of stuff. So we'll just think about this. Now, that's not the only promotional method. We need 2 other items, don't we? Maybe we might run some radio advertising. We might run a social media campaign or whatever it is. But a competition is one you can be ready for. So think about it. Think about using it. I think they're great. So over to you. If I was to run a competition, I'll show you my idea shortly. If I was to run a competition, last activity for this, for the kilo sales, what could it be? So let's imagine that you and I are running our first kilo sale at Leeds University in 4 weeks' time. What competition could we set up that would encourage a massive attendance at our first kilo sale? Over to you, whilst I give you 30 seconds. And already they're coming in. So somebody's suggesting guess the weight of the tote bag. The closest who gets to a kilo gets it for free. Nice. Yeah. Guess the weight of the clothes. Okay. Let's stick some of these on screen here. These are great. A competition on the day, presumably, who can wear the most layers of clothing. So the person who wears the most layers, maybe you run it every hour, gets to walk away with the clothes that they're wearing. Best styled in the products wins kilos for free. Nice. A number of variations on sort of what I used to call supermarket sweep. You're too young to remember that, but basically the idea is setting people into a supermarket to see how much they can put in their trolleys. But lots of variations on the theme aspect. Jason's going for how many clothes can you put on in 60 seconds. This is nice. Find a specific item of clothing in the sale, gets a free kilo. I've gone with something similar. Social media giveaways. Yeah. I'm not sure meeting Sydney Sweeney will be an option at every kilo sale, but it would definitely bring people to the first one in Leeds. A number of people saying, what on earth is going on in the live chat? Well, we just come out with some competition ideas for our kilo sales. Love these. Great stuff. Should we have a look at mine? What do you think to these? And I've picked one of the four. I've come up with 4 ideas. What do you think to these? The first one's quite boring. Tag your friends on an Insta TikTok post. Tag 3 friends you bring to a kilo sale and why. And 5 get picked for a free entry plus a free kilo of clothes. That's quite traditional. What about this one? The hidden hanger. Somewhere in the kilo sales, there'll be 5 golden hangers and everything on them is free. An incentive to get there early, of course. Or maybe you hang out a golden hanger every hour. I don't know. I don't. It's quite a nice idea. What about this one? Society sponsorship. So when you arrive at the kilo sale, you say which clubs or societies or teams you're a member of, and the society that has the most attendees wins £250 of sponsorship. And then what about this last one? I like this one best. The best haul challenge. So they come to the kilo sale and then they post a TikTok video styling the clothes that they got in their bag using the hashtag retread haul. And we pick 5 winners each from each competition, who each get a voucher for £100. So some kind of retrospective. So the hidden hanger is going down well. What else we got here? Jim, those ideas are so dead. Now, this is probably, is that good news or bad news? Help me out here. Does that mean that you don't think they're very good or you think they're absolutely amazing? Anyway. So, and James asking a perhaps more serious question. Why and where and why would we put these competitions? Well, the whole idea of a competition is it's a method of promotion. And the beauty of it is, as we'll see in a few short seconds, is that it helps achieve the stated aim. It helps achieve the objectives. And it involves spending money. It involves spending part of our promotional budget. And also, it's a great opportunity to come up with some varied costs. So let's have a look. Let's take this last one. This is an example of what I think would really work for each of the 3 promotional activities. And it also gets you marked for timeline or timescale. So we're going to aim for 3 varied types of promotion for our chosen option. More than just TikTok advertising and whatever. Everyone goes for that. A competition is one of those 3. Why are we running it? That's the first question. Good question. Well, it's to help achieve our aim of maximizing attendance at each sale. So we want people to become aware of these kilo sales. And one way of doing that is for people to say, look what happened when I went to one. So the strategy here with this competition is it's hopefully going to generate a fair amount of UGC from people saying, look, I went to this pre-loved kilo sale, look what I got. And I'm styling it and showing it. And my particular haul was XYZ. Great stuff. Okay, we'll look through those and we'll pick 5 winners and they each get £100. Well, 1 winner gets £100. So that's the idea. It just builds interest. It builds awareness of the fact that these kilo sales run. But then the magic happens in the bit below there. So the cost. We've got a 20,000 budget. We're going to spend £5,000 on competitions. Let's break that down. Well, there's going to be £3,000 of prize money, 5 winners per month or 5 winners per sale, 6 sales or 6 months, a £100 voucher. So there's a cash cost to us of giving the prizes out. Is that it? No, because we need to do 2 or 3 more things, don't we? Firstly, we need to create some promotional materials. And this is where you can use things like getting a freelance to design some social media posts, get some imagery done, put a little figure in there. Doesn't matter what the number is, you're showing some wider costs. So I've called it creative and design. We definitely want to spend some digital advertising on it. So let's say £1,000 maybe over the 6 months, spread over the 6 months to announce the winners and to promote the competition. And maybe a bit of money, 450 quid or so, to actually manage it, getting somebody, a freelancer in to actually manage the competition, pay them a decent number per hour to verify the entries, select the winners, let them know about that they've won, maybe arrange some social media promotion. It doesn't matter what you write, as long as you include some wider costs, and even better, a couple of calculations like 18 hours at £25 an hour. Good work if you can get it, but that's a little calculation, and that helps the examiner see that you're coming up with some wider costs. And that's how we get to the £5,000. Is it 5,000? Is that a good number? Well, the examiner not bothered. As long as it's sensible and realistic, they're not going to check it. But that's how you're going to get your budget spent. And I really like that as an example. The competition, you know now, whatever it is tomorrow, you'll be able to run a competition. And you kind of know how the costs get broken down, the actual prizes themselves, and the cost of managing the competition. And it's an absolute no-brainer when it comes to coming up with a nice, easy promotional activity in AF6. And it also helps get you some marks for AF7. So I'll come back to a couple of questions on the competitions as we go. Oh, actually, let's pick out a few. James saying, what is competition management? It's just somebody looking after the competition. Somebody spending maybe 10 hours or 20 hours over the 6 months looking after it, managing it, seeing who's entered, choosing a winner, letting everyone know about it. And that's all you need to say. That's all you need to say. Let's see what else. Yeah, a number of people asking, is it okay to create a table on budgeting? It probably is okay, actually. But the main thing with tables is you still need to have lots of detail in there. So I've seen the distinction items with tables for budgets, but they have lots of detail and they have their calculations in there. So tables, I think, are fine as long as you don't as long as you don't sort of skimp or skip the detail. Okay, so why might that also get a bit of credit for AF7? Well, because we've talked about when the competition starts, how often it happens, and when it ends, and how long it lasts for. So in other words, we've met the requirements for timetables. So the examiner has said 3 or 4 times now the same words in the examiner's report for AF7. So we've done with 6. Now we're moving on to 7. AF7, 4 marks only for timescale or timetable, it's sometimes called. So all the examiner is looking for is detail of when your activities start, when they end, and how long they last for, and why. So why are they timed the way that they are? They're not looking for a really detailed chart, Gantt charts, lots and lots of detail. They just want that kind of detail. So AF7, the average is about 1.8 out of 4. But to be honest with you, it's hard not to get 1 and it's quite hard to get 4. So you're going to get 2 or 3. So don't waste time on AF7. Don't start thinking about a complicated table with all kinds of different colors and all that kind of stuff by month. Much, much better just to say, here are my 3 promotional activities. They start here, month 1. They finish here, month 4. Duration, 4 months. Why? Because we need to do this first. Or we will do this every month. So as long as each promotional activity has something about that, you're going to get the marks and you don't need to worry about getting them. So a little example here, our competition will run for 6 months from month 1 to 6. That's a total duration of 6 months. Whilst the kilo sales are operating, we'll conduct a prize draw a week before each sale. So why? Because so we can publicize the winners and build awareness for the next sale. And at the end of the 6 months, we'll review how effective it's all been. That would be more than enough to get the marks for the timetable for that particular promotion activity. And you don't need to worry about it. It's 4 marks. You might write another half page or do a fancy diagram, but you're wasting your time because you'd only get maybe 1 mark more, if that, when you could have been spending some time putting more detail in your marketing mix where there are 20 marks available. So there we go. And somebody's asking, can I do the budget and timescale together? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No reason why not. Within each promotional activity, you could say, competition, budget, costs, why, when does it start, when does it finish, duration, how's it going to run? That's going to get, that is describing the timeline, isn't it? Describing the timetable for that activity. Okay, so we said this would be 50 minutes today's session, so let's just finish off with just a few suggestions on, firstly, what we've done in these 3 sessions, and then just a few final tips on Unit 2. I mentioned right at the start on Sunday that we're not covering AF1 or AF8, and the reason for this is you will get the marks for those 2. There's 8 marks in total for layout and presentation. Almost impossible not to get 7. Most people get 8. 4 out of 4, 3 out of 4. It just happens. If you type a structure, if you use headings, if you write using normal language and marketing terminology, you will get the marks. It's almost impossible not to get the marks. So you start with basically 7 out of 70. The magic happens between AF2 and AF7. So that's what we've done in these sessions. We've been through each of those assessment foci and picked out the most important things. So what happens if you're looking for those top marks? Well, I've mentioned that only 1% of students get distinction, but a lot more do really well, also do really well and get a merit. Here's my final take on it, really. The research is really important. It's given to you for a reason. Use it, but don't just copy it and paste it in. Pick out the data, pick out the evidence, and as we've seen in these sessions, refer to it. The idea of the research is for you to be selective and to bring it in to help justify your marketing campaign, your marketing mix. AF4, 2 models needed. It's up to you. Everybody does SWOT, but it's up to you. Most people do PESTLE. Quite a few people do product lifecycle. Doesn't matter. It's only 10 marks. Do 2, but use the evidence to justify, from the research pack, to justify your marketing strategy and your objectives. Those objectives, they are the golden thread. Not only do you need to list what they are that will help achieve the aim for the option, but you need to keep referring back to them throughout. They don't just appear once. You need to keep referring back to them throughout the rest of your report. The marketing mix, as we've said today, is by a distance the most important part of what you type on Thursday. 3 hours where you're already going to get the marks for presentation, AF1 and AF8. So at least 80 minutes, maybe even an hour and a half, goes into the detail of the marketing message and the marketing mix. Detail. Do something different, do something new in product and price, but support it with the evidence. Support it with the from the research pack. The budget is 8 marks. Most people will get 3 or 4 out of 8, but the ones who score more think about variety in their promotional activities. 3 promotional activities, but make them different, but explain why you're doing it, when you're doing it, and what the overall costs are, including wider costs. So make sure you have something in there about wider costs, not just the total. And lastly, there's only 4 marks going for timescale. So just talk about why something is happening, when it starts, when it finishes, how long it lasts, and you'll pick up 3 out of 4. But you'll never get 5 out of 4. So don't waste time on the timescale. My final advice is, as you're typing on Thursday, and as you're thinking about the market tomorrow afternoon, just think, how am I going to keep coming back to the research? How am I going to keep on using that throughout my document and keep referring back to my objectives to support and justify what we do? And if you do that, you will do extremely well in your Unit 2 exam, because most people don't. So if you do, then you're in good shape. So with that, I'm going to take a break now. Lots for you to think about. Main thing now is just to dive into that research pack tomorrow, see what you can make of the industry, and then do your very best in those 3 hours on Thursday morning. Hopefully you found it useful. If there are any specific questions about what we've covered, as soon as this live stream is finished, it will be live as a recording on YouTube, and I'll do my best tomorrow to answer as many questions as possible for this and the previous 2 sessions we've done. I've answered quite a few already, but I'll do my best tomorrow to answer some more. I wish you all the very best. I might see you at the weekend as we get ready for Unit 3 if you're doing that on Monday. But for now, I wish you all the best in Part A tomorrow, and most importantly, in Part B on Thursday. So, cheers.